Here we go.
Let's do it. So now our target time is going to be like 8:47.
8:47, we got it.
I'm going to write that down. 8:47. No chance we'll hit it. Go.
357 Productions is proud to present its April 2015 episode of the Masonian, a monthly podcast for Freemasons with a focus on the Grand Jurisdiction of North Carolina. While not an official function of the Grand Lodge of North Carolina, we operate with the full endorsement of Grand Master Douglas Cottle. The opinions expressed on this show are those of the participants and in no way reflect the opinions of the Grand Lodge of North Carolina, its members, or any appendant bodies. 357 Productions does not own any of the music used on this show, but as always, we sure do like it.
Yeah, we do.
All right, we'll go ahead and start the show. I'd like to say good evening. I am Worshipful Brother Riley Beeman, and across from me, our host, Worshipful Brother Ben Wallace. And of course, in the back, running all the sound and making everything happen is Brother Sean Brown. And since this is our April episode, there's been a lot that's changed since the first episode. A lot of new upgrades and stuff. As you see, we've got new microphones, a lot of new hardware in the back. Anything new we got, Brother Sean, you can share with the followers?
Well, like you said, we have new microphones. We got a new soundboard. We're hitting it off in a new way here.
We've been shopping, haven't we?
We have.
Well, I think it's been a learning experience, and you guys are just kind of picking it up as you go and changing and evolving with it. So that's awesome.
Right. So everybody, as we're just now tuning in and starting the show, everybody missed a fabulous 30-minute dissertation on how we were going to explain the changes in what we've done as far as how you download this show. And basically, I'm going to give it a shot here, Sean. We've talked it to death. I'm going to give it a shot, and you tell me if I'm right or wrong. You can get everything that we've got, audio and video, by the Facebook page. That should be your primary source to go download the show. The audio version is going to be available on iTunes, which you can get either by going to iTunes and searching it out, or go to the Facebook page and follow the link to iTunes. You can download it, audio version. The same thing for YouTube. We now have a YouTube set up where you can go to YouTube, and if you can find it, you can download it from there, or you can go to the Facebook page and follow the link. Is that right?
That's exactly right.
Good. So if you want to do the audio, what I do, I listen to podcasts a lot, and because I travel a lot with work. So what I'll do is, I'll just go download a bunch of them, usually Masonic ones, but other stuff too. Put them on a flash drive, and most of the newer vehicles have a USB port, and you just plug it in, ride down the road, and listen to podcasts. And I can't think of anything better than riding around listening to me and you talk about Masonry in North Carolina.
Absolutely. What's cooler than that?
I don't know. Not much.
And guys, if you have a hard time or you can't find us for some reason, or you can't get the links to work, don't forget to email us at 357productionsteam@gmail.com. And again, the Facebook page is 357 Productions.
And that'll get you to Sean, and Sean can answer any technical questions. I see them. I'm just not smart enough to actually answer any of that stuff for the most part. But I'll either give it a shot or we'll kick it over to Sean.
We'll leave it to the guru.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about some of the stuff that's going on and has been going on since the last episode. The way that this works is we're shooting the episodes close to the end of the month. We actually have decided that we're going to tape the fourth Tuesday of every month, which usually puts us within a couple of days of the end of the month. That gives Sean a couple of days to play with the production if he needs to edit anything, and then we're rolling it out on the first. We're going to try and hold pretty true to that. This particular month, the fourth Tuesday, is like a little over a week before the end of the month. So we're taping today, and some things have happened since, just to report on since the last time we were together. One of them is Wilkerson College. The last time we taped, Wilkerson College had session 1, which was held at Whitestone. Since then, we've had session 2. That was this past weekend in Oxford. A couple of things to tell you about that. One is me and Sean rode our motorcycles up there. We were going to take a cage, And right in the last hour or so before we were going to leave, we were both scrambling, trying to get out of town. We were having trouble getting away, and the weather was looking pretty good. And it said it was going to be a high on Friday of like 65. And at the time, it was only like maybe close to 60, but I had faith in the weather, man. I didn't think it'd be too bad, and didn't think about how long it was going to take us to get up there, and we nearly froze slam to death. I didn't know if I was going to be able to get the brake and the clutch when we finally got up to Oxford about 8:30 at night.
Yeah, we almost weren't functional.
I'm not sure we were functional Friday night. I'm not sure I warmed up until the next morning, and thank goodness we got a little coffee in us and came back to life. But it was a cold ride up there, but we had a great time, man. The students are just great. We got a wonderful class this year. Had really good. All the presenters are always really good, but just had some of my favorites up there. Max Sigmund talked, and he's always great. And Most Worshipful Brother Leonard Seifert talked, and he is always a pleasure to listen to. We taped a bunch of them, didn't we, Sean?
We did.
We didn't get Mac because Mac was talking about some things that you could only discuss in a tiled setting. But most of the other presenters I think we got. And eventually those tapes of the Wilkerson College instructors, their 1 hour long lecture blocks, are going to be made available in various forms, probably through the Grand Lodge Committee on Masonic Education's website, and they'll be available there for download at some point. We'll talk about the Education Committee in just a minute, but that's the goal. The goal is to make the things that we talk about in Wilkerson College available to everybody. Now, that's not to be a substitute for the college, because there is just no way that you could replace the experience of actually being in the college. Visiting a Whitestone is a rally in Oxford.
It's something when I said it the first episode, it's something every Mason should take the time to do. Again, you guys were at Oxford, which that's one of my personal favorite spots for Freemasonry, definitely in North Carolina. How many people do you guys have in the class this time, roughly? 36.
It's always a class of 36. Occasionally, we'll fall one short or go. They used to go a couple over. I think my class had 40. I think we had 40 in my class, but they didn't like that. They went back to 36. So
and you guys are coming up on your final weekend. Is that correct? You guys, I think you're going to be at Raleigh for your graduation.
Yep, Raleigh will be the graduation. So what happens is the students get to go take a tour of the Grand Lodge building. They get a lecture on the mural and stuff. Get to see the building, meet the folks that work up there, and then the next day we'll be at one of the local hotels, and then we do all the lecture blocks there. That's coming up in a couple of weeks, actually in a month. So April 18th is when it is. It's mine and Speed Hallman's birthday.
Awesome. Yeah. So again, Wilkerson College, I know Brother Ben's telling you some updated information. If you have questions about that, again, they take, you heard it here, they take 36 applicants, and it is an application process. If you want more information on it, just shoot us an email again, 357productionsteam@gmail.com, and I know Brother Ben or one of us will be more than happy to answer those questions on Wilkerson College.
Really good. Wanted to update everybody on the Allegory and Symbolism lectures. This is a function of the Grand Lodge Education Committee. There are going to be 4 across the state, and we've already had 2 of them. We had one in Jacksonville, and I'm pretty sure that we had not taped when we did the one in Jacksonville last month. That's been since we taped last month. So went down there. Here's what I know about Jacksonville. We live very close to the exact center of the state, which for all you... There seems to be great debate about where the actual geographic center of the state is, but I bet you know, don't you, Riley?
We do know.
It's behind some chicken houses in Ether.
There's a nice, huge monument out there that says you are standing in the center of North Carolina.
Done by
the chicken houses.
Done by the Geological Survey, so it's like all official and everything. So we're close to the center of the state. What I know about getting to Jacksonville is you drive, and you go across 95, and you're still going east. And me and Sean entered some sort of doggone vortex down there, and we drove for it seemed like hours and hours and hours. And
the North Carolina Triangle. It was the North Carolina Triangle.
It might have been. I don't know what it was. It was something. Anyway, we finally made it. We got in. We were running late that day too. We finally got in about 10 o'clock at night. Next morning, Rob took us to breakfast. The master took us to breakfast down there. So that was pretty nice. Had a good turnout. How many do we have down there, Sean?
36
in Jacksonville. Very well received. The next weekend, we were at Beulah in Burlington. I think we had 28 there. Everybody seems to love it. It's a new program put on by the Education Committee. It talks about the allegory and symbolism of the degrees. It's what the degrees are really about, because you know that there's something special. You don't know what they are. We explain it as in depth at the allegory and symbolism lecture. So there's 2 more. One's coming up this Saturday, which is going to be March the 28th. That's at Excelsior Lodge in Charlotte. If you can make that, please do. Bring a friend. And then the last one will be April the 4th, which is the following weekend. That's Easter weekend at Mount Hermon in Asheville. So please try and make one of those if you've missed the other ones. And if not, if you'll wait till next year, we're going to do it all again, just like the boot camps recycle in the fall. Every year we have boot camps in the fall. We're going to have the allegory and symbolism lectures in the spring every year, and we hope that continues to go on for a while. You hadn't been to one yet, Riley?
I have not. I promise I will.
Okay. Of course, I coached Riley, so you know your coach is supposed to tell the guys that he coaches all this stuff. That's part of the purpose of having a coach. For all you coaches out there, it's about more than teaching them just the catechism. You're supposed to teach them what all that stuff means. But, you know, the problem is most coaches don't really know what it all means. Nobody told them. You know, their coach didn't tell them. They didn't know. So, anyway, if you learn it, then you can teach it, right?
You're exactly right. And that's an important part of Freemasonry. I mean, that's definitely something that we don't need to lose in our tradition. So,
well, we're going to talk about this more when we get to our subject matter tonight, which is Traditional Observance Lodges. I have this pet theory about this. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. The next thing I want to pitch is the symposium, the Wilkerson College Lodge Symposium coming up June 13th. We're going to zip through this pretty quick, but this is where we're going to have a fabulous day of Masonic education to include a path on allegory and symbolism. Worshipful Brother Rob Hurd, owner and editor of Livingstone's magazine and author of The Initiatic Experience. Wonderful lecture. He'll be talking about allegory and symbolism type stuff, in depth, deep symbolism and what this stuff really means. He's also going to be bookended by Mike Daniels, who's a wonderful lecturer from right here in North Carolina. Stephen Bullock is coming. He is not a Mason, but he wrote a book called Revolutionary Brotherhood. We covered a lot of this last month, but I'm just trying to pitch it because it's going to be a great day. He's going to be talking about history, specifically the craft and its influences on colonial America during the Revolution. Following him is going to be our very own Jonathan Underwood, the undersecretary, not undersecretary, what do you call it?
The Grand.
The undergrand.
Is that it?
Junior Grand. What do he call himself?
He's got a Facebook page.
I don't know. Whatever. Anyway, Jonathan Underwood. He's the assistant secretary, and we always give him a hard time because he's our buddy. But he's a great lecturer and a great historian in Ben Sorensen. At the same time, we're going to be having the ritual competition. The ritual competition is starting to heat up. We're starting to take applications. They've got quite a few in. There's a lot of questions. There was a question floating around today. You know, there are 2 paths to that thing. One is an organic team, which means that you have your master, your wardens, and your deacons. The question that came up this weekend by David Wicker, by the way, David, if you're listening, here's your answer. David asked if those 5 officers had to sit in the chair that they are assigned to, or that they were, elected to, and the answer is yes. You have to sit in the chair that you are actually installed in. And then there's a ringer class where you can get any Mason in North Carolina and put together this fabulous all-star team. And we talked about all that before. So all that's going to be going on June 13th. Please put that on your calendars. There is something for everybody. That was our mantra. That was our hope when we put this thing together. We want to have something for everybody.
And it's unbelievable. If you are Freemason in North Carolina and you're listening to this podcast, you don't understand the powerhouse presenters that are going to be here. I'm a little biased. I mean, I've got 3 of my most favorite, Rob, Hurd, Mike Daniels, and Jonathan Underwood. I've been numerous places and heard all 3 of them do numerous presentations, and they're great. They're outstanding. So, I mean, you guys definitely need to take advantage of this.
Rock stars.
Yes, they are. If you don't believe us, check out Rob Hurd's Facebook page.
Cassie going to come up here and join us.
That's right.
Barcat.
The Barcat. She's cruising around.
I was gonna talk about a little bit about being a certified lecturer and the fact that they'll be later this year they'll have coming up an opportunity for people to get certified. Some people just aren't interested in that, and that's okay. I know there's a lot of people out there that are sitting on the fence. The guys that are remotely considering it are the ones that I'm talking to right now. There's an A certification and a B certification. If you can't get that, if you're not going to get the A, at least get the B. It's important for a couple of reasons. These guys, our Board of Custodians and our certified lecturers are the guys that keep our continuity going. They're the ones that keep us from losing the words of the ritual. And I'm a big allegory and symbolism guy, so I'm always into the meaning of the ritual. I talk about it all the time. I'll lecture on it. I read about it, study it. But if it wasn't for the fact that we have the certified lecturers to maintain the ritual, there would be the ritual would be in such a different, it have a different look to it, and it would change the words so much that you wouldn't be able to know what it meant. Right. You wouldn't be able to study the allegory and symbolism of it. So it's really important. It's really important. It's also important from an allegory and symbolism standpoint. If you're going to understand what they mean, you've got to know what's in them. And so I encourage everybody that for whatever reason is remotely considering getting to be certified to quit coming up with excuses why not to do it and to go do that. I was going to have the dates, but I will have them next month, I promise. But if you talk to any certified lecturer, they can look that up. You can look it up on the Grand Lodge website.
And I can tell you the deciding factor. Guys who are sitting on the fence, like Brother Ben's talking about, here's an easy way to make your mind up. Go back to your next lodge meeting, look around, and ask yourself who in this lodge room are certified lecturers. I would be willing to bet there are a very, very small number across the state of North Carolina and all the lodges that we have. And, that right there's your answer. That's the reason you need to get off the fence and do it. Your lodge needs you, and the craft needs you. So, it's something we've got to have. You're exactly right. We can't lose it.
It's important stuff. So there's my pitch for everybody to become certified. Ryan Flynn's coming May 2nd.
I'm excited.
Did you... you can't see this from the camera shot that you guys have got, but there are two great big chalkboards that kind of are behind us here. And the guys come into this place, the tractor shed here, and they just kind of doodle. We've got this big chalk, sidewalk chalk, and everybody kind of doodles all over it. But in anticipation of Ryan coming, I had Lollie's my 10-year-old girl, take and clean them both. I bought a special mop just for it, and she's cleaned them all up, and we're ready for Ryan to come. And I told Ryan he's going to stay here with me. I told him that I will cook us something fabulous over here in the kitchen if he'll take and draw something fabulous on the boards.
It's only the second time I've ever seen these boards clean, when you first put them up and today.
I know.
It's exciting. And I know we both follow Ryan on his Facebook page, and the new painting he's got going on, the Grand Master that he started, that is awesome. It's unbelievable.
I know. Yeah, it was just cool. He did that whole fast time lapse thing. Did you see him on? He was on somebody's podcast the other day.
I saw him. I saw where there was a link to it. I didn't get the chance to check it out, but
watch that. He's wonderful. I can't wait to get him here. We're going to interview him here in studio, and he was a very good interview. That may have been Juan's podcast. I'm not sure. I can't remember. Anyway, it was really good podcast.
And while we're talking about Ryan Flynn, guys, of course, if you hadn't picked up on this, he's an unbelievable Masonic artist. He's got all kinds of different paintings and illustrations that he's done, and they're mind-blowing. So much detail. Hopefully after he comes and visits and you have a picture, we'll have to take it and put it on the Facebook page, of course. So.
That's right. And he's coming to speak to Sophia Lodge. That's on May the 2nd. Anybody is welcome to come to the meeting. It'll be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It will be a tiled meeting. He'll talk for 2 hours. We're going to give him 2 hours of lecture time. We'll take a break in the middle there, and then we'll be going to a Harmony, which is a dinner. We're going to talk about all of this when we get to TO Lodges. But if you want to go to the dinner, that will be ticketed. So if you're interested in coming to see him speak, please just show up on May the 2nd at 2 p.m. If you want to go to the dinner that follows, when we start selling tickets for that, which will be very soon, be on the lookout for that. You can go to Sophia's Facebook page and get a link to where to do that. Tell me about the publication committee meeting you sat in on the other day. What you can. I don't know how much of that's secret and how much you can let out.
Well, we had, of course, a publications committee meeting. Some of us were able to phone into Raleigh, so we wouldn't have to drive all the way there. Numerous people on the publications committee, and a lot of neat things are going on. I'm new to the committee. This is my first year there. Basically talking about redoing the appearance of the publication. They're kicking around a lot of ideas. I don't want to say too terribly much because I know we've got a few more meetings before we finalize everything. I think that the Masons in North Carolina are going to be really surprised, and I think they're going to be really impressed with what the committee comes up with. It's going to be a drastic change from what we're getting now, which is somewhat of a newspaper style format, black and white paper. Just a newspaper. It looks very similar to a small newspaper. And the changes that we're talking about in the committee they're drastic. I mean, they're going to be drastic changes. So I'm excited to see what takes place. I know the Grand Master, of course, ran the committee meeting, and everybody's excited and on board with it. We've got, I think, 2 more meetings, or at least 1 more I know of, before we make finalizations to it.
At some point this year, the Grand Lodge Committee on Masonic Education is going to roll out some new stuff. Also, there's going to be a new website, lots of really cool things there. And also understand that the Grand Lodge is maybe going to get a new website. Theirs is old, and personally, I really dislike the website that we've got now, so I'm excited to hear that.
Just a little bit of discussion about that in the publications committee, so I think they're trying to tie everything in. So
somebody's trying to drag us into the 21st century here. Who gets the main person that gets the credit for all this?
Well, I feel like we'll probably have to say our Grand Master, probably.
I'm so pumped, man. He told me, last year, that he wanted to see a lot of this stuff done. He wanted to see us communicating in different ways, and he's just making it happen.
As we said in the first episode, man, he's definitely giving Freemasonry a kick in the pants in North Carolina, which is,
I love it.
Is great. We need it.
I get the feeling that the Grand Master just thinks that if he just wills something to happen and puts enough energy behind it, it will, and it is.
Yeah, well,
I love that.
And just from the meeting, we were probably on the phone part of us were on the phone for the conference call for probably close to 2 hours, and just the passion that he had while he's talking. I mean, just the passion. I mean, it's hard not to get energized about it, and jump on board, because he's so excited about it, and I mean he believes it, and it's nice to see that energy.
It's good stuff, man. Let's pitch some of our local stuff here.
We're kind of biased, but Blackmer Lodge, which is our home lodge, everybody in the bar here, our home lodge, Blackmer Lodge number 127. We've got our URA Mountain Rumble, which is a motorcycle ride through the URA Mountains. We're having that April 11th, and all the proceeds raised from that ride will go to our charities. You can visit our Facebook page at URA Mountain Rumble. You can go ahead, and we've got T-shirts for sale. We've got artwork showing what the T-shirts are going to look like. They're pretty cool. We've got an artist that's redone our shirt this year, so it's really cool. You can go ahead and register for the ride. We'll take all your orders and everything through PayPal and different things that we've got set up off of our Facebook account. So definitely check us out at URA Mountain Rumble on Facebook. Scottish Rite and York Rite. It's spring, so of course we know they got their reunions coming up. Our valley is Greensboro for the Scottish Rite, so we definitely know when our valley's meeting. Our reunion will be on April the 24th and 25th. But again, it's going to be going on across the state. So York Rite, I apologize, we don't have any dates on York Rite, but again, it's springtime. They're going to be having their reunion, so definitely check and find out what those dates are in your area. The Masonic Pig Jig will be going on May the 16th at the North Carolina Fairgrounds. Talking to the Fairgrounds guys, they said this is the largest event. Second largest event that the fairground hosts. So out of all the stuff that they've got going on within a year at the North Carolina Fairground, the Pig Jig is the second largest.
Yeah, they have some kind of southern something day up there, and the Pig Jig's a part of it. Man, if you haven't been to the Pig Jig, Raleigh 500 guys, you're going to have, there's actually a couple of lodges that put this on, but the Raleigh 500 guys are the ones that I know personally. You'll see all of them up there working it, and I think there's 3 or 4 lodges that throw in together, but it doesn't matter who puts it on. It's for a good cause. They're good guys. But the best thing is the food. If you like barbecue, you got to go see that. You got to go to this thing one time.
It is ridiculous. Take your entire family and please starve yourself for a couple of days. I mean, you literally pay a few bucks, and you get a plate, and you basically walk around to all these different tents that are cooking fresh barbecue right there in front of you, and you get to try it all. So, and then you get to vote on who's the best. So.
Yeah, the brother that was pitching that thing this weekend, Sean, at Wilkerson College Session 2, was naming all the different states that they had contestants from, and there were like 5 or 6 different states. There were some from like Delaware or somewhere.
There was more of a turnout than I'd imagined.
Yeah, so that was really good. And a lot of the Prince Hall lodges will come out and they'll compete too. Matter of fact, I think maybe that's a joint venture with some of the Prince Hall guys, isn't it?
Could be, and that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you'll see all kinds of guys there. You'll see some of your Masonic motorcycle groups will ride in. I mean, it's just amazing to see all the different Masons across North Carolina and all these different jurisdictions come together for the pig jigging. I mean,
yeah, a couple of things that'll really bring. Here's 2 places that I see the AF and AM guys and the Prince Hall guys really hanging out. One's around barbecue, and one's around motorcycles. 2 of my favorite things.
No doubt.
So not only are they good, is barbecue and motorcycles good, but they're doing good work in the world. What do you think about that, Sean?
That's great.
When we were at Oxford, there was a ride that was, I guess, put on by Ray Price Harley Davidson, but there were almost all Masons in it. I don't know if that was in conjunction with a lodge, or that may have been KOS Jacksonville. Whoever it was, there was a big group came in. Sean's got, I guess you put that up on our Facebook page, 357 Productions Facebook page, of them all rolling in. Mm-hmm. And so it was a big ride. It was a pretty cool day, but a good crowd came, and there were a bunch of Prince Hall guys that were there too. I can't remember the name of any of their riding groups, but talked to a bunch of them, and I really like to see that. We always follow the 357 Riders out of Greensboro. Not that we borrowed their name exactly, but those are all good guys to hang out with. And anyway, I'm just glad to see us doing joint stuff, especially around some of my favorite things. All right, Riley, let's get to the meat of what we were going to talk about this week. We're about halfway through this thing, and so I wanted to reserve the whole second half to talk about our theme, and I wanted that to be Traditional Observance Lodges. Now, in future episodes of the Masonian, we're going to have people either in studio, or we'll get people to Skype in, and we'll get somebody that's familiar with something. Now, next month, we're going to have Susan Brewer, who is one of the ladies at Whitestone, who is a placement specialist. I'm not exactly sure of what her title is, but if you want to go live at Whitestone, you talk to her, and she facilitates making all that happen. There's her and another girl named Lori up there do that. So she's going to be here in studio and talk to us about Whitestone and the process to get in up there and answer any questions that anybody might have about that. The next month, we're going to have the Grand Master here live in studio here at the Tractor Shed, and we're going to talk about
The Boss.
The Boss. The Boss is going to be here, and you know what we're going to talk about then? Whatever he wants.
That's exactly right.
Whatever is on
the
his
weather,
mind.
whatever he says.
We'll talk about anything he wants to talk about. So we're going to have him here. But today, it's just me and you, and I thought we are, the definition of an expert being anybody who knows a little more about something than you do. I guess we're as good as anybody to talk about TO lodges, especially here with a North Carolina focus. So Riley and I are both members of a lodge called Sophia Lodge. We talked a little, we spent 4 or 5 minutes last month talking about this, but we're going to explore it in depth. So, Traditional Observance Lodges is a movement that got started some years ago. And the first one that I heard of was in Australia, and I think they actually called themselves a European Concept Lodge. And then that movement started to grow here in the States, and it was small at first, and now it's growing at a very rapid pace. So a European Concept Lodge and a Traditional Observance Lodge are like very close first cousins. They're practically the same thing. And they follow a couple of basic ideas. And the basic idea is that we are not only giving our Masonry away from a monetary standpoint, but we are not treating her Freemasonry with the respect that she deserves. Our craft is ancient, and it is vitally important to a man becoming a self-fulfilled man. We teach good men to be better, and Freemasonry gives us a path, lays out a path for us to do that. And it's a place for us to be charitable, and it's a place for us to be social. But at the end of the day, Freemasonry is about making you examine your relationship with yourself and with your God. And if you're going to really dive into those things, this is Ben's opinion here, generally the traditional observance opinion, if you're going to dive into those things by this sacred fraternity that we belong to, she deserves more respect from you than for you to show up in flip-flops and a Metallica t-shirt. I love Metallica. But,
and a ball cap.
And a ball cap. I mean, can we not treat her with more respect than that? She deserves for us to perform her ritual properly. And so when you see people that are not dressing for lodge, then that's about respect. When you see people not doing their ritual right, that's about respect. Let me tell you something I hate hearing. I hate it when people say, well, it's the internal, not the external qualifications of a man that should recommend him to be made a Mason, right? And that's exactly true. But what does it say about the internal qualifications of a man that has no more respect for the fraternity that raised him than for him to show up dressed improperly? And then I hear, well, some guys just have to go to work and they don't have time. Well, that's okay. If you occasionally have to go to work, don't. Come as you are, but not every doggone time.
Right. And if that's the case, just put a suit in the car.
Put a suit in the car.
We do it all the time.
Yeah.
Or on the motorcycle.
And even if you don't want to wear a suit, if you don't want to dress up and wear, some lodges, you don't wear a suit, and that's okay. But at least wear your clean blue jeans. You know what I'm saying.
Right.
Don't guys want to parse words with you and always make some kind of excuse. But the point is, you ought to treat Masonry respectfully, and it's not doing it when you don't dress properly, when you don't do your ritual properly, and when you just generally don't care because it's not important. And this goes to the point, Riley, that I was making a while ago about learning not only the catechisms, but what the catechisms mean. It is my contention that the reason that people don't treat Masonry with respect is because they don't understand what it is. If they understood what it was, then they would respect it, and if they respected it, then they would dress for it and do it properly and give it the due attention that it's worth.
And guys, we know we're stepping on toes. We know that right now some of you guys are going to be listening to this going, what? We can wear overalls to our meeting, or we can wear flip-flops, and we understand that. We get that. We're not trying to offend anybody. We're just saying it like what we feel. And the thing is...
Because it's our show.
Because it's our show. And the key is, and we said this the first episode, just when we went over it briefly for a few minutes, this is not an elitist lodge. We're not saying this is the way that all lodges in North Carolina should be ran. We're just saying this is what we feel, and this is why we formed this lodge, is because we have a deep, deep respect and passion for the craft.
Exactly.
So, we're not saying that we're better than you. We're not trying to do that. We just want Masons all over the world, but especially here in North Carolina, to take pride in our craft.
Right, and so that's a wonderful point, Riley. Well, the way that we all look at it is, I'm not telling everybody else how they ought to run their lodge. If you want to come in your flip-flops and your T-shirt and your dirty work clothes, whatever.
Then that's fine. That's your lodge.
That's fine. You just do that. I'm just saying that the traditional observance model is one where there are a group of like-minded men that think that we should do better than that. And so we're also all in Blackmer Lodge. Blackmer is a small community. And, we have guys that show up not dressed in suits. And that doesn't make them any less a Mason. We just like having a lodge where you have a group of men who all think the same way, in that it should be treated with more respect. And it's not just about dress. It's also about ritual. So I will give a little bit of leeway to guys that want to argue with me about the dress thing. I know how I think, and I think they're probably off base, but I'm not telling them what to do. When it comes to ritual and seeing ritual done poorly, then that's a different story.
Yeah, that's you're crossing the line.
Because it doesn't matter how long you worked that day, or how late you were, or how you got caught without your suit. Not knowing your ritual,
there's no excuse.
There's no excuse for that. That's just straight up not caring. And we've all been to lodges where guys dress in overalls and do wonderful ritual.
Unbelievable ritual.
Bisco is a lodge like that. They're all happy. They love being around each other. Their ritual is spot on, and you'll never see anybody wear a tie in that lodge. And I really don't have a problem with that at all.
Look, that's the way they've done for years, and that's their lodge.
And they're treating it with respect because their ritual is spot on.
I know the first time you ever took me over there, I mean, it blew my mind. Everybody there was spot on.
Yeah.
And it's rare to find lodges that everybody knows the ritual. So, I mean, forwards and backwards.
But they exist all across the state.
They do.
Lodges like that. But there's also lodges all across the state, and we've all been to them, where they not only do they not do their degree work very well, they can't even open and close. I mean, properly. I mean, not even close to properly. And that's just lack of attention and not caring. And so that's another big part of the traditional observance model. Doing the ritual, not only properly, getting all your words right, but a big emphasis on slowing everything down and doing ritual with emotion and feeling and theatrics. I mean, we're not like a bunch of thespians up there, doing Shakespeare.
Right.
But you've got to put some emphasis on your words and not sit there and just rattle the words off. With the goal being, especially in degree work, of you're taking a candidate into your lodge and you're talking to him about profound things that are going to change his life. Doing degree work is right up there, when you took your degrees, is right up there on the, at least in the neighborhood, of getting married and having babies and things of that magnitude. I mean, it's very important. And so we owe it to those candidates to not only get the words right, but to do it with a proper emphasis that makes them understand that they're doing something profound that's going to change their life.
And another thing is that lodge has to realize that those first 3 degrees set the tone for Freemasonry in that candidate's life. I mean, if it's a poor degree, then that candidate's going to walk away with a poor experience. He's going to come back and say, man, it might not be really for me. I mean, I might, and you might not ever see him again.
Absolutely. And it happens. So the TO model takes in respecting the craft in our dress, in the fact that we use incense to stimulate the senses. We use candlelight. We use classical music. And we use all of these things in an attempt to make the experience richer. When we do degree work, we sometimes, for North Carolina Masons, we have the Bonson's Manual. For anybody that's listening that's not in North Carolina, we have, North Carolina has ciphered work. And that is the secret work that we don't talk about much. And then you have a Bonson's Manual, which is all written out. It's all clear text. And the way it has been explained to me, if it's written out, then it's not a secret. So in the Bonson Manual, we have things that we use in the degrees that's not necessarily the secret work. But in the Bonson Manual, we know that when there's a portion. I want to be careful of my obligations here, but there's a portion in degree work where we circumambulate a candidate. During circumambulation, in almost all lodges in North Carolina, we'll read scripture. There's scripture that's printed in the Bonson Manual that's taken right out of the Old Testament. But there's also, it says, if you'll read that, it says, or you can sing this song. And there's songs in there that you can sing.
And we sing.
And we sing them at the TO Lodge to make that experience richer and deeper and different and more profound. So we use music in a lot of different ways. All of these things generally go to making a TO Lodge, and we also have a relatively high due structure. Well, okay, not relatively high. It is high. It's $365 a year.
Yeah, it's high.
It's high. But we think that it's worth it. We think, that's a cup of coffee at McDonald's. We think that Freemasonry is worth a cup of coffee a day. And if you're going to have a lodge where you're going to explore the deeper meanings of things, you need to not be fighting over, can we afford to pay the water bill?
And also tell them what they're getting for $365. I kind of felt like a car salesman right then. Ben, tell them what they get for a $365. No, but there is a lot that money goes to. These top name lectures that are coming in, our meals, which I know you're going to touch on here in just a few minutes, all the stuff needed to put on the degrees.
We give them a real leather apron, a real lambskin apron.
Right, absolutely. Yeah. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's not like, we're just paying $365. What does the lodge do with all that money? You can see when you walk in, you see what your money's going to.
Yeah, and we think it's worth it. And lodges that operate on a shoestring budget wind up fighting about money a lot because they don't have any. So they're trying to, figure out whether are we going to pay this or pay that, or can we possibly afford this. They kind of takes all that away by having a budget that you can work with. Plus, you get a lot for it. And we hope that we get some more buy-in. So a guy's a whole lot less apt to miss a meeting when he's paying that much money.
And undoubtedly we're getting buy-in because we're getting candidates. So that's good.
That's right. So, Yep. MRF. All right. So the Masonic Restoration Foundation is a loose consortium of all the traditional observance lodges in the United States. It's a group. There are no dues. It's just they have a website. If you Google search the Masonic Restoration Foundation, you'll find it pretty easy. And they do two big things. One is they have a list of what TO lodges should consist of. And so there's no certification, there's no exact checklist, but they have a list of things that TO lodges do, pretty much the stuff that I just told you about. And the other thing is that they have a symposium every year. So the MRF symposium this year is going to be in Philadelphia on August 21st and 22nd. There's a big group of us from North Carolina who go every year. Last year we were in Cincinnati. Year before that we were in Manchester, New Hampshire. But this year they're going to be in Philly. Philadelphia is a wonderful town. The Grand Lodge building there is fabulous. It's fabulous. It's beyond description. I can't even describe how cool this place is. And it's right downtown, and we're going to have a big time when we go. If anybody's interested in going, just check out their website, and you're welcome to contact some of us, and you can ride with us. Some of us will take our motorcycles up. Some will be taking cars, but you can go with us. So those are things that the MRF does, and I encourage you, if you're remotely interested in the TO model, to check that out. Sophia specifically got created a couple of years ago when we had Andrew Hammer scheduled to come to Wilkerson College Lodge to do a presentation for us. We had already had Cliff Porter come, and he kind of started the ball rolling because he's from Enlightenment 198 in Colorado, which is Colorado Springs, which is a TO lodge. Andrew Hammer had written a book called Observing the Craft. He's past master of Alexandria, Washington 22. He talked about observant things, and when he came to speak in that particular meeting was at Beulah in Burlington. Doug Caudle, who was at the time maybe the senior Grand Warden, they had a book study group that got together in the mornings at his home lodge, which is in Statesville, and him and Kevin Combs and Wayne Craddock, and I don't know who all else was in that group, in anticipation of Andrew coming, they read his book, and they were really on fire about it. And he came and he gave a fabulous speech, and after the speech we went to dinner. I arranged for our future Grand Master to sit across from Andrew. And at the end of the night, I had been down at the end there were maybe 30 of us at dinner, big crowd. And I'd been sitting down with some guys that I didn't know. Don Barrier and Andy Phillips, I think, was there. And I think Jason Callahan and Jeff Peck. I didn't know these guys at the time. I know them very well now. And we were talking about Traditional Observance Lodges and how great they were. And the Grand Master came down where we were sitting when dinner was over after dessert and said, sure, it'd be nice if we had one of those here in North Carolina. I'm like, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to have one of those. Yeah, too bad we don't have one. I'm like, yeah, I know, that really is bad. Right worshipful. He was right worshipful at the time. Wonder if there's any way we can. I finally got around to realizing that what he was talking about
Dropping
was
bombs.
maybe we ought to put one together. And I said, I tell you what, I said, I would love to work on putting one of these together. I said, what we got to do is make sure that the Grand Line would be okay with it, because there are a lot of states that their Grand Lines do not like Traditional Observance Lodges. They don't like it at all. Why, I don't know. It's different. And anything that you don't understand can be a little bit scary. I'm not sure what all the feedback is on or the holdback on some other states, but Right Worshipful went and talked to the rest of the Grand Line, and they were all for it. So we started a steering committee. Now, I was the only one that had seen a Traditional Observance Lodge at the time. About a year before, I had gone out to Cliff and Rob's. Yep, Cliff and Rob's Lodge, Enlightenment 198. And at the time, they were very vocal about their traditional observanceness. They had a Facebook page and a website, and they were flying in guest speakers from all over the world, and they were publicizing them very much, not just locally, but they were publicizing them nationwide. And you wouldn't think that somebody would get on a plane in North Carolina and fly all the way to Colorado Springs just to see Peter Taylor talk.
But you would.
But a lot of people did.
Right.
I mean, a lot of people from all over the United States were flying in to see Enlightenment 198. And there were other TO lodges around, but Enlightenment was really promoting the model in themselves and trying to get the good word out about Traditional Observance Lodges. So I went out there, and I had read all about it, but I just was not prepared to see it. It just absolutely blew me away. It was the most profound thing that I had seen in Masonry, because they use all the same stuff we use at Sophia. They use candlelight and classical music and a procession and they're all wearing tuxes and they're using incense. It's all that same stuff that we've got. But I mean, it had an almost spiritual feel to it. And I was like, this is what Masonry is supposed to be. This is what it's supposed to be. You could feel it in the room. So, that fire was burning in me. So when Right Worshipful Brother Doug Caudle suggested that maybe we should put one together, then I was all for it. And so we put together a steering committee with me and the Grand Master, Right Worshipful at the time, Larry Thompson, and we drug Larry into this because I knew he was a fan of the model, and he had been involved in putting together Wilkerson College Lodge some years before, and there aren't many lodges that get started up, and so there's not like people everywhere that know how to do that, and he had experience with it. So we brought him in. We actually had the first meeting at his house, and Kevin Combs, just because I knew Kevin also was like-minded, and that was the four of us that started. We literally took the Masonic Restoration Foundation website, went there, downloaded the list of things that TO lodges can do, or common practices for TO lodges, and started going down them. Do we want classical music? Yes, we want classical music. Check. Do we want incense? Yes, we want incense. Check. So we just ran a checklist, and at the end of the night, we figured that we had a good enough, we had come together enough and agreed on enough things to really start to put it together. So we did, and we worked, and we all divvied up duties, and then we came back a couple weeks later, and we came up with some more stuff and divvied up more duties, and then we started bringing more people in. We brought in James Howell to be treasurer, and we brought in Doug Calhoun to be the secretary, because he was the secretary of Wilkerson College Lodge, and he was a fabulous one. So we knew what those guys brought to the table, and we brought Don Barrier in to be the musician, and so we're finding people and we're bringing them into the steering committee.
So essentially, it's an all-star team.
Well, I don't know about that, but it was certainly guys that I knew to be like-minded, and I knew their ability. And next thing you know, we had put together this lodge. We worked under dispensation for a year, and what we have created, we think, is just absolutely fabulous.
With full support of the Grand Line.
Full support of the Grand Line.
It's unbelievable how much they support it.
Yeah, and so it just speaks to how progressive and open-minded those guys are. Love our Grand Line.
And to the guys listening, again, we know this probably sounds different, but before you make a judgment, please come and just visit Sophia in Salisbury. We have a Facebook page for it. Just come and experience it. That's all we're asking. Again, we know it's not for everybody. We're not saying that your lodge needs to transform into it. We're just saying come and experience it. Join us. All you have to do is wear a suit to get in. You don't have to wear a tux. You can if you'd like, because we'll all be in tux as officers. All the officers and members will be in tux. But you can wear a suit. And all I'm saying is just give it a chance. Just come and experience it. And I promise, if nothing else, I know everybody in the room here will tell you, I promise you, it will be an experience. It'll be a Masonic experience like you've never experienced before. If you just come and check us out, try it.
Absolutely. So we got our first candidate now. In order to get your dispensation, or while you're under dispensation, in order to get your charter, you have to do all 3 degrees. You borrow candidates for that because you don't have your own. And we did that, but now we've got our own organic candidate. We've done the entered apprentice degree. And in the Traditional Observance Lodge, your coach it does what we were talking about before. He's more than just a coach. He's going to use the Lodge system of Masonic education, which, if you don't know what that is, go to the Grand Lodge website and download it. It's a system to teach a young candidate about Masonry. And it's not the deep allegorical stuff. That's a different program for us. But there's some of that in there. But, it's stuff like, why is there a sun and moon on the deacon?
So basically, you're taking a coach and you're turning them into a coach / mentor / tour guide.
Absolutely.
Walking you through Masonry. Freemasonry.
Absolutely. So we expect our candidates to take longer. There will be, how many times have you heard this in a lodge? Hey, Riley, how's that candidate going you got? Oh, man, he's great. He's a great candidate. I think I'm going to have him ready to go in 4 weeks. He's going to be able to return his catechism. He's great. Well, he ain't learning anything in 4 weeks.
Right.
He's memorizing the words, but he's not learning anything. So we're trying to take the time to teach them. Hence, it takes a long time to get a candidate through. We're expecting it to take 9 months or a year to get a candidate through our lodge, and that's okay, because they're going to have a greater, deeper understanding of what it is that they're into. And then once they're through that, once we've raised them a Master Mason, or if anybody that affiliates with our lodge, we have the Adept program. The Adept program is stolen from the Master Craftsman model, except we use different books. We use a lot of Wilmshurst and J.S.M. Ward, and these are books that talk about allegory and symbolism, what the degrees mean. You read the book, you take an essay, you read another book, you take an essay, you read another book, you take an essay, you read 3 books. You have to sit through a series of lectures given by me, which is basically the allegory and symbolism lectures that were given across the state. And then at the end of it, they have to write a big essay, and they'll read that in front of the lodge. And they're also doing that as they go through the degrees. They're doing entered apprentice degree. They're going to write an essay about what it meant to them. Fellowcraft degree, before they advance, they're going to do an essay. That's a local lodge thing. That's not in the code for them to do that. But I'm pretty sure we put it in our bylaws. I'm pretty sure that's right. If not, we're asking them to do it.
So what we're doing is we're taking the candidate, and we're all these different things that we're saying are going around North Carolina right now. We're jam packing that candidate full right then, making sure they're a well-rounded candidate.
Yes. So when they get through, they're going to know exactly what it is that they're into, and we feel like it's going to make those candidates have a greater appreciation and respect for the craft, and so that our candidates will stick around, and that they'll dress properly, and that they'll learn their ritual properly. Not that there are guys that don't, but we're going to try and instill that from the very beginning, and grow them up organically with it built into them. So that's what we're hoping for. Education, we do a lot of great education programs. We budget for 2 national level speakers a year. So we're flying twice a year, actually for 3 this year. So we're flying in 3 people, national level guys that are like authors or have written books. We got Jason Marshall coming in July. We talked about Ryan already coming in May. Jason Marshall's coming in July. Did you see Jason Marshall? And he's got a group called the Laudable Pursuit. They've been like a blog spot. They started a podcast like last week.
I saw that.
But we got ours out first, Jason.
We beat you. Nana.
Although they're like national, on national
they're
stuff.
already awesome.
And we're just talking about...
We're like the farm team.
Local stuff, yeah. Local stuff. So we're going to have him here in July, and he'll be in studio with us. And nothing like, podcasters interviewing podcasters. I'm sure that's interesting to all 50 or 60 Masonic podcasters in America, isn't it?
It'll be nail biting, I'm sure.
But Jason is a wonderful author. I love reading everything that he writes. I've learned an awful lot from him. I can't wait to meet him in person and get him here. But this is again part of the TO model is education. We will never have a meeting where we go and just do business and complain about the bills and go home, because that's what kills interest for a lot of guys. I mean, they don't do anything. They open, they gripe about some stuff,
and then they close,
and they go home. And the guys think, well, I've got better stuff to do with my life than this. So that never happens in a TO lodge. You'll always have some kind of program. This month, we had a program, and the guy that was going to do the program is not going to be able to attend, and so we got a lot of business that we've got to work through. Normally, we try to keep that to a minimum. We do this consent agenda where we send out an email with all the business, and then when it comes time to do business, we just adopt the consent agenda. And if anybody wants to talk about it, then we do, but nobody ever does because they don't want to do business. That's not why they're coming to this lodge. So they read over it, and if they've got questions, they'll usually get them answered before we get in actual lodge. But we got some votes we got to do. But we wanted to have something. So I asked Mac Sigmund if he would speak about what Masonry means to him, and he'll stand up and he'll just talk from the heart about what Masonry means to him, how he got into it, and how it's changed his life. And then I'm going to read a poem. I'm going to read Invictus, which I love that poem. And that's not much. That's a small program for us. We usually have somebody speaking for 30 or 45 minutes.
We're not saying we're there all night either. We're not there all night, but it's we're there. Right. It's a lengthy time, but it's not, overboard.
I think the point is, even when you don't have a program, like we all of a sudden got caught short and don't have a program, you can put something together. Ask a dude to talk about what Masonry means to him. Read a poem. Then you've got something, to give guys. Anyway, so we always have education. Education at TO Lodge is a big deal. And the other big thing is that we love each other. We love each other. We love and respect each other. We respect each other because we're doing our work properly, and we take great pride in getting it done right. And we just really realize that what Masonry, at the end of the day, whether you're a TO lodge and you're wearing a tux, or whether you're a little country lodge and you're not, Masonry is not about fighting over the bills or how many dozen eggs you need to have at the breakfast coming up. Masonry is about loving your brothers, being with a mutual support group of men. It's important, in today's society, Riley, more and more, somehow manhood is getting lost. All right, now, all you feminists out there, all you wives, don't send me hate mail, but it used to be that men did men things and women did women things, and men didn't do near as much with their families. And I'm not saying that it's bad that we're suddenly doing that, but it's hard for men to find time to be around other men of character. If it's not in the workplace, everything else is sort of integrated, and men need that. It's part of our tribal mentality. We're going to have to run out of here in just a minute. But, loving your brothers and being all about caring about each other is another thing that you're going to see in the traditional model, and we've certainly got it at Sophia. Just to run through the rest of this real quick, there's a second Traditional Observance Lodge that has started. It's in Asheville. It's called Veritas, which, by the way, is also the name of Jason Marshall's TO Lodge in Oklahoma. But this one is Veritas in Asheville. They are under dispensation. We call them our sister lodge. A bunch of great guys up there following pretty much the same model. Their lodge is very different than ours, just in feel, but it's still the same because it's TO. And so that's the second one.
And we'd love to see one pop up in the eastern part of the state. One was talked about. It was discussed and kicked around a little bit in Fayetteville. They're trying to do some stuff. I guess they're still trying to get it together, but we would really love to see an observant lodge take off on the eastern part of the state.
It's my most fervent desire to see another TO lodge somewhere down east. I know Russ Jones wanted to talk to me about one in Jacksonville the other day. Ken Wickel is working on one down there in Phoenix 8, as you said. I keep badgering Greg Wallace. He's in one of the Raleigh lodges. I can't remember which one. And he keeps... he came to MRF last year, but he's not really quite ready to put one together. But so there's interest in the eastern part of the state. We just need to find some guys that'll run with it. You won't be disappointed.
I sort of say it's a lot of work. They're not going to beat around the bush. It's a lot of work, but it's well worth it.
Well, I guess we've talked this horse to death, but for people that had questions about what TO lodges were, especially since we have a new one in North Carolina and one under dispensation, fixing to have a second one, it's a movement that's growing nationally, and it's certainly growing like wildfire here in North Carolina, and we hope it continues to grow. And as Riley said, if you haven't seen it, come to one of those, to either Veritas or Sophia. We'd love to have you.
Absolutely.
Run us out of here, Sean.
All right.
I am feeling like the rose that somebody gave me on my birthday. I am feeling like the rose that somebody gave me 'cause I'm dead and blue.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Masonian. For more information and productions, please visit and like our Facebook page at 357 Productions. You may also email us at 357productionsteam@gmail.com. As always, tell people that you love them, and remember, we meet on the level and part on the square.
I couldn't remember exactly what time it started.